and welcome back to New York Wedding Jam, the podcast for modern couples. I am your co-host, Martine Derniak, joined by my other co-host, Jason Alicia. Jason, what's going on today?
Hi, Martine. What's up?
Not much. Just kind of relaxing, enjoying summer and summertime vibes right now. I love diving into the season at this point because I don't know, there's something about, even though schedule hasn't changed, frankly, for anything like since I was in school, but there's something about summer that just feels more relaxing, just always. So I'm digging it.
Yeah. I wonder if it's because many people in your area and my area go away, so there's less people around, and there's just more space. It seems like, instead of the congestion that we typically deal with.
Yeah, and I think there's just always just some summertime activities that are just kind of more fun. It's kind of nice to be outside. Like, we're outside now. We're just enjoying the sunshine and all those things. So I'm digging it. I'm digging the vibes.
Yeah, I think. We talked about in our last episode about how we're both warm weather summer people.
Exactly.
So that works for us. I'm sure there's people who are not thrilled right
Miserable. Yeah, in the heat for sure. I know those people, and I'm always like, that is sad for you.
Yeah.
Because summertime is cool, and I wish you enjoyed it as much as I did.
Yeah. No, summertime in New York definitely has an exciting feel. But I've been loving fall in New York.
Yeah.
It's just, there's nothing better. I know it's getting cooler. You can't wear shorts and t-shirts, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, no, fall in New York is definitely a beautiful time, and probably, arguably, the best weather that we have all year.
Yeah.
Truthfully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's the vibe always feels very back to school, What
yes.
I mean? Like, back to work and back to the grind, as opposed to summer, which feels like we're just out here having fun,
That's funny that you associate back to school with back to the grind, because I always get that back to school vibe too, but it's always, for me, it's not a grind. It's more like exciting, like, oh wow, new classmates, new school, or new activities, a new start to things.
New gear, right?
Yep, new gear.
Did the back to school shopping? I don't know.
It
just felt like
new Trapper Keeper.
Yeah.
Do most of our clients know what a Trapper Keeper is?
Probably not, Jason. But I did like my Trapper Keeper. I have to be honest with you. Or doing the book covers with paper bags, brown paper bag covers.
Oh yeah.
And then decorating those, with some good times trying to set those things up,
Yeah. One of the things
I did like my Trapper Keeper. I did.
Yeah.
I thought those were a great idea.
One of the things that I was also really excited to go back to school for was to see where I was going to sit in the class. Where my assigned seat was. And with the last name Alicia, I was always near the front, but who was going to be near me and all that stuff, and how was the class going to be laid out. So that was always a big thing for me.
Gotcha. I had a lot of teachers who like to do things a little bit differently, so they wouldn't necessarily do us all in alphabetical order.
Mm-hmm.
Some teachers would let us choose our seats in our groupings, but that was always subject to as long as y'all don't get in trouble doing that.
Okay, right.
So there were some people that I knew I couldn't sit with because we were gonna get in trouble. We were gonna talk too much and not be paying attention, and it was gonna cause some drama. So then they'd split us up, if they had to, But I don't know.
Seating is a big deal.
It is a big deal. And so seating definitely is one of those things where, even for weddings, ends up being a much bigger deal.
Yeah.
Just in general. So that's our topic for today, Jason.
It is.
It's non-traditional seating arrangements for ceremonies.
Yes. I recently shot some content on my scooter about this, and but we're going to have a little bit more of a lengthy discussion about this topic. So typically, right, American style hetero weddings, you have the bride on the left and the bride's family sitting, and guests sitting on the left if you're facing the altar or the chuppah or wherever the place they're getting married. And then the groom's side, groom's on the right, and his guests sit on the right. And so that's kind of the typical thing. And even today, I still will have guests coming in and asking me, which side do I sit on?
I know. And it's always so...
Yeah, what do you say? What do you say to them?
Whenever I hear the question, I'm just like, just sit, right? Like, it's like anything but the first two rows are open. And
right.
I'm kind of like, just sit. I think it used to be a big thing back in the day to just ensure that you were sitting on the right side. But what I found today is that, like, sometimes that gets awkward, right? Like, because one side might have way more people than another. And it's also
right.
kind of like, it may not even necessarily be like the best side to sit on to see the person you came to see, right? So one of the things is like, if all the bride's people sit on the right, you actually probably have a better angle of her face.
Correct.
Truthfully. And so like you may want to sit on the right hand side just so that you can see her face better, and vice versa. So I've actually had parents say that to me, like, no, I don't want to sit on the side we're assigned to because like I want to be able to see my child, right? Like, and I want to be able to see their face, and so I'm going to sit on the opposite side.
Of course.
So I've definitely seen that happen a few times. And again, it's always interesting to me because again, the American style bride on the left, groom on the right, is also different depending on what culture you're from. So like Jewish weddings, it's flipped, right? Like it's the reverse. Where
sometimes
bride is on the if they're doing it the traditional way, she is on the right and he is on the left.
Yeah.
But again, like sometimes people aren't necessarily following tradition. But depending on how you have people seated, I can see why some people might want to change things up. So some of the ideas that I've seen that I really kind of dig the concept for is like more circular seating, for example, so that people have a better shot of the couple in the front, and it's not just kind of this aisle strict left right concept that's coming at you. So I kind of like that.
So are you describing like the semicircle kind of idea?
Yeah,
almost like a concert or like a
right.
Like what are those things called? Like an amphitheater
style
kind of idea. Okay, yeah.
So that people kind of get a better view of what's of the couple that they've come to see, different angles.
I will say, to counter your amphitheater concept, whoever's sitting in the far extreme left or far extreme right is going to be looking at the backside of one of the two people getting married.
Yeah, that's also true. I can see...
it works.
Get awkward.
It works great for sound if you want to hear it, but I think for watching... I think the extreme people can get a little cut off.
That's true. That is true. I've seen that happen.
But
potentially,
to get very shallow about this, it does look beautiful.
It does look nice.
I've seen photos of that semicircle seating arrangement, and it's beautiful. It's pretty.
It is pretty.
It
definitely makes for great pictures.
Yeah.
Sure. Have you seen the fashion show style seating where people are facing the aisle and then like there are other people who are facing the front of the room, like, so it's like it's not necessarily even uniform, but that they're definitely people facing the aisle as opposed to the front of the room, which is not standard. But I do like the fashion show seating. It's also pretty.
Yes.
It looks nice.
So
nice.
I actually filmed something in a chapel, which you would not expect the seats to be like facing the aisle, but in fact they were. Yeah. And I think this chapel is designed specifically for weddings and not for worship, even though it is a chapel. So this and it's rather small. So there's like 2 rows of seats, and they do face the aisle on opposite sides, right? So there's like 2 rows on the left, 2 rows on the right. All the seats are facing the aisle, and that was nice.
Yeah, so I mean, something different. I guess it just depends on what you want and if you have the flexibility. Obviously, not everybody's going to have the flexibility to like change up their seating styles or seating arrangement. It doesn't work in all cases, and you have to consider whatever you're deciding who are the people who are going to be able to see the best, right?
Right.
Because inevitably, no matter what you do, no matter what the seating arrangement is, there's always going to be a seat that doesn't work as well unless your wedding is really small.
Right.
And so, just kind of keeping in mind, like, whatever you're doing, like, is it going to make your parents happy? And are your best friends going to be able to see what you're doing up there? Like, as you're, because everybody's coming for the ceremony, hopefully, right? Theoretically. I know everybody, like, is really here for the reception, but the wedding is the reason for everybody gathering, right? And so, like, the way that we can make the most out of seating arrangements for the ceremony to be, like, ideal, I kind of just dig people looking at it differently than they have been in the past.
Yeah. Have you ever worked or seen, I know you've seen it, this whole idea, it's kind of a more exaggerated version of your amphitheater idea, but it is the, like the spiral, where the couple is in the middle and the guests are situated in seats that continually spiral out from the center around the couple, and I think it's interesting. I like it.
I think again, like, I think that's one that would look great on photographs. It's going to take you a little longer to set that up, so definitely check with the venue on whether or not that's allowed. I've seen it. I haven't had any couples try and pull that together.
Sure. A lot of venues are set up for, like, the standard American,
like center aisle,
left and right business.
Left, right, yeah. And I mean, again, there's something to be said for the standard too. Like, so I don't want to completely kill it, like,
right,
because it's been there for a reason for a very long time. Like, it's definitely the easiest to set up, and it's also giving you kind of what people are used to.
Yeah.
But there's just some other ways that if you're not into the just doing it to do it, and you want to think about opportunity to make it more interesting.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah.
I've never seen the spiral though. Like, I'd be curious how they're setting that number up. Like, for, like, how many people come out on a spiral at each turn.
Right.
To make it uniform, and how long it takes them to set that up, so that, because I guess one thing that I will say is I still want it to be, and maybe this is just me, I like clean lines, right? And so even though, again, it's going to be a spiral, I like the concept of a spiral, but the chairs would have to be very uniform in a way, you know what I mean, like, as the spiral is coming out, so that the actual effect of it isn't lost.
So it's symmetrical. It's
symmetrical. That's
right.
the word I was looking for. Yeah.
Okay.
So I do like symmetry. Like, I'm a fan, and I realized that might be. I had a boss one time who I told him, like, I like change. I was a graphic designer at that point, and I was doing layouts, and he was like, just be more creative. And I told him I like creativity, and he was like, all right, you like structure with your creativity? And I was like, yes. And I don't see why those two things can't go together.
They can. They totally can. Although there's something to be said about, I don't know if you know what the golden ratio is. Have you?
Yeah.
So
I do.
The spiral, exemplifies that, and
Exactly.
there is something pleasing, aesthetically pleasing, about a spiral, which is something
Yes.
that does show itself in nature too.
Yeah.
So there is structure, maybe not man-made structure, but there is, in nature, there is a structure that is kind of universal, and we do see that.
So I mean, as long as that's what's happening with the spiral, then it's probably great, right? Like, I've just seen enough people get sloppy with it.
Yeah.
That would be.
It doesn't look. It's hard. It's hard to do it. I'm sure it's because
it would also be hard to see people in that one. Like,
you need a drone to see it.
Yes, and it would also be, like I said, like, even for people coming in to sit down, like, how do you walk into the thing without moving chairs around?
Sure,
so that
sure.
we're actually getting into the spiral.
Yeah.
And that's really where my, like, as long as we can keep it symmetrical.
Yeah.
As people are coming in, then it's fine. But
yes.
You'd have to really be particular about it,
So, I just had a thought, and while we were talking about this before we started the podcast, this thought did not occur to me. This idea did not come to me, and it just did now. And you guys in the audience might be thinking, duh, Jason, of course, because I'm just so slow to realize these things. But you were talking about the standard American wedding, and with the aisle down the middle and the the pews. You see where I'm going with this?
Right.
That the American wedding, I was going to say, the guest sitting on the left and the right, but the American wedding is based on a religious house of worship, where there is a holy person up front. There's an aisle. There's pews to access those. There's an aisle to access the pews, and so much of what we do is rooted in tradition, but traditions that are based in some type of religious practice.
Right.
And so I can see a couple kind of coming to the same conclusion and thinking, I don't want to do this, right? If they don't want any religious connotation connected to their wedding, choosing to do an amphitheater or a spiral or any other configuration.
For sure. I can definitely see people wanting to change it up. A lot of the times people do things from a traditional perspective without kind of context for why, right? And so sometimes people are just kind of like whatever's easiest, and sometimes people are putting a lot of thought into every piece of their wedding and how they want it to be represented.
Yeah.
And that's fair, that's valid, right? Like even the why does the bride stand on the left in the first place? And it was because at the time the groom needed to have his sword hand free, which was usually, again, assuming most people are right-handed, was his right hand, right? And so that is why she is on the left, so that he could protect her with his sword hand. Like, I mean, I don't think most people are expecting that people are coming at them with potential to fight the groom for the bride, right?
I mean,
in these cases.
some officiants do ask if any reason why these two should not be married. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Yes. So I guess there is opportunity to throw down at a wedding. If
it could come up. It
could happen.
But definitely wanting to keep in mind that all of these pieces and tradition-wise, like, it's just what are the things that are important to you and how can you best represent the two of you as a couple up there. So
yeah, it's such an individual choice. And like you said, some people think about every single detail and are intentional about everything, and some just do what's easy or what the venue tells them to do.
Right. So, I mean, it really just depends on the couple and things that are important to them, right? Like, one thing that I like to encourage people to do is to think about the pieces that are important to you and to make the process easier. If it's important to you and it's something that you want to help represent the two of you, put some extra thought and time into that part of your wedding day.
Yeah.
And if it's not important to you and you're like, whatever, I don't really care, then fine, like, go with the flow and do what's easiest in those cases so that you're not overextending yourself on the energy front,
Yep. I didn't think we could talk for 18 minutes about seating at a ceremony.
Oh, we could talk about anything. I'm going to make this a goal.
But we did.
We could talk about anything indefinitely.
Yes, we certainly can. And that applause is for us. On that note, folks, we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And Martine, I will see you in the next one.
All right, sounds good.
Bye.